ladies and gentlemen, friends. I hope that's truly what we are. My name is Stan Houston. The program is Interesting Ideas, and we are in the business of trying to find and help you find a better way of living. Now, we're not going to solve many problems, but we do know that, there are some better ways of living. And if we can share them with one another from time to time, interesting ideas, and then maybe inquisitive ideas. Remember the 7 kinds of ideas? We'll talk about that again, but I don't want to talk about it right now. I want to talk about, oh my goodness, Ray-Ban for the sun. Ray-Ban for the sun. And sometimes we just have dumb ideas. Sometimes from some of the dumbest people in the world. And then I'd like to reflect on, hey, remember when flying was fun? That's right. Remember when flying was fun. Those are just some thoughts for this Wednesday. It's kind of a short week because at least we have in America, we had kind of a long holiday, and that means that the work week is going to be kind of short till we have the next weekend. Kind of good, but we better make good the 3 days that we have. Let's see if we can do that. Stan Houston, Interesting Ideas. How can we help you? The program begins right now. I do confess that I'm watching less and less of the news. Now remember, I've been a radio reporter. I did a lot of reporting of the news. And even though I was not a trained journalist in the fact that I didn't have a whole lot of college courses, I actually learned journalism by just being what I was. Kind of a missionary who had to watch what was going on in the world, and as a radio broadcaster, and finding a way to tell the stories about what is going on in the world, and try to do so in a fairly engaging way, and in a way that would help people and inform people, and not scare people. Remember that. Remember, today, a lot of the news is designed to get you frightened and to get you emotionally loaded. And unfortunately, in doing that, they don't tell the whole truth, the full truth, and nothing but the truth. During the weekend, we had 2 stupid things that happened. First of all, there was a report that even though President Biden loves his aviator sunglasses, and I never trust people who wear sunglasses all the time. I just don't. I just don't do that. I think they're hiding something. Could be stupid, but I only wear sunglasses when I'm out in the sun. And when I'm among people, I take them off. Okay? So that's just a prejudice. But the story was that because of global warming or the planet warming, whatever is the current expression, and of course you probably sense some of my cynicism, is that see if we can get a great big shade around the planet so that we could reduce the sun's rays and thereby reduce climate crisis, global warming. And that was the story that was around. Quickly, after a few people pointed out what a stupid idea that was, there was a formal expression that came out that no, there were no plans to get involved in, I think they said, solar modification project. Very simply, that's got to be one of the dumbest ideas I've ever heard of. How in the world did they think of that? Now, here's the problem. of course it is dismissed. But who came up with that? And obviously it was somebody who is in leadership in our government who came up with the idea. And not only did they come up with it, they spent time and money talking about it and thinking about it and perhaps, seeing if it was possible. And then they decided to let us know that that was in the works. They were thinking about this, and they were planning for how this might be. Well, they're not going to. But here is the question. Where was the person? Was there not one person in that whole conversation who had the courage and the wisdom to stand up and say, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of? No, it's not. It's even worse than the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. What kind of blankety blank, and I wouldn't say words like that, but they probably would, thought of that? Don't ever repeat this. They will think we're stupid. That didn't happen. And so it did leak out, and of course, people shook their heads, and of course, whatever the people do today, and I don't do the Twitters and the Facebooks and all that type of stuff. So whatever people do to tell the world that they thought that was stupid, and critics, the idea died. But that told me something about the state of wisdom, S-O-W, the state of wisdom in our leadership today. And that's too bad. Now, here's the lesson for today. I've mentioned this before, that one of our mentors, a group of us young hotshots in an organization, we thought we were pretty smart, and we were pretty smart, but we weren't as smart as we thought we were. When you're 35, 40, there's no way you can be as smart as you think you are, and that's the stage of life we were in. There was an older man who was in the board of the organization who one time told us in no uncertain words, even though he was a strong Christian gentleman, he made it very clear, and I won't use the language, but it shocked everybody. And he simply said, gentlemen, and then ladies. And he had to do that because there was obviously in those days more gentlemen and a couple ladies. It would be much different today. He said, please keep in mind you always need somebody in your life who cares enough about you. Try to make sure you have someone who you cultivate as a friend, who has the courage and the wisdom to say, and let's just put it for me, Stanley, we love you, we care for you, you're very bright, we think a lot of you, but right now, that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard, and you're really full of blank. And we sat there, shocked that this gentle old man would say such a thing. And then he simply said, no, I'm very serious. Always make sure someone in your life who loves you enough and cares enough for you to say that to you. And that's pretty good advice. That's pretty good advice. So I share that out on this Wednesday. And then, of course, the flying was a mess. Couple things about that. It struck me. First of all, I'm glad I wasn't flying anywhere. And again, it's almost gotten to the point where it is when you hear that there's going to be a rush of people flying, it would seem to me that a lot of us would say, well, if millions of people are going to do it, I'm not going to be one of them. But it does remind me of a line that I sometimes say, and now as I'm officially, truly an old man, I really am. Now, I have lots of energy and personality, and I don't act or look old, but I am old. All right. And I sometimes have said as we are going through security and they're going through there, I'll look at the person next to me and say, "Do you want to know how old I am?" Kind of a strange thing to ask. I said, "I'm so old that I remember when flying was fun." And I get a smile. And of course, in some ways, if they are a little bit older, they said, "Yeah." And sometimes we'll exchange some banter about that. Yes, we would always get dressed up for the airplane. It was an occasion, and it was very nice. For the most part, it was. And we enjoyed it. And oftentimes, it wasn't rare that you would have extra seats. In fact, it was quite common that the plane was seldom full. And so there was oftentimes a choice of select seats that you could get. And there was a lot less of the carry-on stuff, let's place it. That just didn't seem to be, because for the most part, they didn't have quite the size of the places they have now. They've really designed them. But early times, I remember in some of the planes I flew in, that actually it was like a train. It was just, you just put something up there, and it had to be quite small because it was just kind of like a little rack, not a bin. Yeah, that's how old I have been. That's where some of the airplanes were. They were modern airplanes at the time, but that was oftentimes what it was like. So that wasn't the case. But then I got to thinking, and I said, some of the most pleasant times that I've ever had, particularly as a young man, and it has to be a young man now, even as a boy, is when I got to ride the train. That's right. Riding the train was a wonderful experience. And I still remember some of the good feelings. Now, this is very old for me, obviously, taking the Great Northern, and their flagship train was the Empire Builder. And again, for many of you, this is a foreign country. But for some of you, remind that taking the train and the train rides were wonderful. And there's a part of me when I now think about slowing down, being still, taking time, less busy, to remember how wonderful it was to take the train and then to get off on the way to Grandma's house in the beautiful Union Station in Chicago. That was, for a small boy from North Dakota, almost a magical experience, a wonderful memory. And I guess that's all it is for today. But maybe from our memories, hopefully we'll still be very present in the place we are in now. But sometimes maybe there's some things to learn about how we could do the future just a little bit better if we would take time to remember when things were better and see if we can't bring that back. Bring back the memories. I'm Stan Houston. The program is Interesting Ideas. I hope this has been helpful to you on a Wednesday. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear from your stories. I would love to have you on the radio and tell some of your interesting ideas and perhaps some of your stories that we can even learn from. Reach out to me at stanhouston@gmail.com. stanhouston@gmail.com. We'll be right back. Okay, it's very clear. What is happening now is that you have the opportunity to truly share your wisdom, insight, and truth. I watch people on the media today, and unfortunately, many of them are not very wise. And I'm beginning to wonder if they have any goodness in some of them. I'm looking for people who aren't afraid to have the truth told to them, and for some people to say, I'll be open to telling me where I'm wrong and what I can do better. So if we could be helpful to getting you on the radio, we can. We can help you share your wisdom, your insight, and your truth. Right now, in the midst of the mess the world is in, there's no excuse for you not taking some time to take your wisdom and your experience, your seasoning, your spirit lessons, and sharing them with somebody, somewhere, in some way. You know, the world will be better, not when we put a sunshade up, but when there is more hope in the world. The purpose is to be a person who brings more hope into the world. We want to do that, and we want to help you do that. So, let's tune in again. I'm Stan Houston. This is Interesting Ideas. We belong to What It Takes Radio, witradio.net, witradio.net. Till Friday. And on Friday, we're going to have more lessons from Cowboy Randy, lessons from horses. We're going to have another lesson from horses, from the creature, teacher, preacher, Cowboy Randy. I think you'll find it interesting and find it enjoyable. And I know you'll find it helpful. All the best and blessings. Take care. Bye for now.